Hello, this is Izzy Dakota Jones with the Art of Doing podcast for 2024. And we're going to be talking to Jamie Macpherson. And Jamie, we've interviewed Jamie a long time ago, quite a long time ago. And we're going to find out what Jamie's up to. Jamie is a tattoo artist, a great tattoo artist. He's also an artist. He's also a musician. And he's pretty interesting dude. So we're going to be talking to Jamie and talking about tattooing, and he's got a couple books out. He's got art in galleries. You know, he's busy. Got great paintings, very interesting, great drawer, great paintings just in general. Um, so we'll talk about that, his art, and we're going to talk to him also about his music, and that's a lot. He's got a lot going on, and skateboards. He's even doing skateboards. We're going to talk about the line of skateboards he's doing too and how he fell into that. So hang in there. We'll be right back with Jamie. This is Izzy Dakota Jones with the Art of Doing podcast for 2024.
Hello.
Hey, Jamie.
Hey, how you doing, Joe?
Not bad. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Good. Are you ready to do this thing?
Yeah, ready when you are.
Okay. Let's rock and roll. So first thing I'm going to ask is, okay, Jamie, tell me, how long have you been tattooing? I was kind of wondering how long you've been doing it now.
I have been tattooing 25 years this year.
Wow.
It started in 1999.
Right on. So what got you interested in doing tattooing? What took you there?
Well, I mean, I've been making art for 40 years now. So
Right.
like that goes way back to when I was like 4 years old. You know, like
Yeah.
So I would say like the whole point of me getting into tattooing was that I needed a job where I was doing art. If I was doing a job where I wasn't doing art, I was unhappy because I had too much time away from art, you know?
Yeah. Makes total sense. Yeah, that's great. And I guess in talking about your art, you know, when I was over at your studio, I was noticing, for starters, the skateboard thing. Like that's really cool. How did you get that done? Get those skateboards done? How did that work out? How did that start?
Well, I've always been into skateboarding. I used to paint skateboard decks for when in the 90s when I was really into skateboarding. And, I never really thought much about it. It was just kind of my own thing at that point. And it wasn't until just recently that I kind of started thinking of the skateboard as another medium to sort of present my art.
Yeah.
And, it goes around in skate shops. You know, I got a job with Pylon just recently, and we're releasing in May a new series for the spring line, and so that's going to be internationally in skate shops all over, which is a nice reach to have as an art gallery, you know.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that takes you worldwide and spreads your art out even further, right? And then also I've noticed too, like I said, you talk about art and everything. I mean, I saw some of your paintings and stuff. Very cool. And I would say that I guess too you've been also putting that into like different galleries and stuff. You had showings and stuff with your art.
Yeah, I've done quite a number of shows. There's been a lot of tattooists internationally and locally who have been putting on some shows, and I participated in quite a number of those. Oftentimes with some of my peers who I really respect and look up to, like in 2017, I believe it was. We did a big tattoo art show in Toronto at the Royal Ontario Museum.
Right.
And that was a huge event. You know, that's the biggest museum in North America.
Wow.
And we did some collaborative paintings in that show, which was like live painting.
Wow.
And then we sold the artwork, and the money went towards children in poor neighborhoods who can't afford art supplies. So they were
cool.
making art so that kids could make art that couldn't afford the art supplies.
That's so cool. That's great. Wow. I mean, your art's doing. It's not just getting out there, but you're helping people and helping young kids to get inspired and do it. That's fantastic. Wow. I didn't know that. That's really good. And so, where are you going with your art? Like, you're drawing in your art now. Where's that taking you next?
I mean, I'm always doing larger bodysuits and focusing on the tattoo as a medium. I'm big on the storytelling, so like early on, I was really into making comics with my friends and stuff like that, and I've been doing that since I was about maybe 5 years old.
Yeah, comic book stuff. Yeah.
In a way, I kind of feel like that's what art is about, telling some kind of a story of some sort. So I thought it'd be nice to get better at telling stories, and I've been finding new mediums, like I said, with skateboard art, to kind of put my own message out there, put my own kind of a statement out there. It's one of the last sort of mediums where you can actually still kind of be controversial and kind of do what you want, say what you want.
Yeah, that is so cool. That's very interesting. Wow, good. And so I mean, also when we were talking too, talk about just art in general. Also, you've played in punk bands and when punk came out, right? You were saying that you were once signed to Joey Shithead's label, right? How was and how was that? I mean, because I know you play a lot of music. Do you write? Are you writing songs? Are you creating music that way too? How are you doing that these days?
Yeah. So back then, I was still in high school when. Well, we were in high school when we started that band. We called ourselves the Victims, and then we changed the name to Altered Ego. And then we got signed shortly, after graduating from high school. We played a few events, and then we got invited to the Sudden Death Records house to play a show on Joey Shithead's birthday. And then it was kind of almost like a battle of the bands scenario. A few bands were playing, and they chose a new band to sign.
Oh,
and
cool.
we happened to be the band that they chose to sign, so that was really exciting. And we were going to get to record with Cecil English, who's done a lot of recordings locally, so we were really excited about that. And they taught us how to get a promo package together and to raise money for a grant and stuff like that, and then that would go towards the recording. And it was going to all go good, but unfortunately the band kind of just fell apart, and right at the moment when we were about to kind of take off, I feel. But these things happen sometimes.
Yeah, especially in the music business, it's pretty much like that a lot. So, do you still write music and stuff? Are you still creating music yourself?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the question was about the writing process.
Yeah.
Even then, I would write the songs. I wasn't a guitar player when I started the band,
right?
But I knew enough that I could play a few chords and show my guitar player how the song went.
Oh, cool.
So I was kind of like I would write the lyrics, and then I'd write a tune kind of toward how I wanted the thing to sound, and they listened to me because I knew more about punk rock than them, so they were kind of like, okay, yeah, this sounds good. And then, they eventually started writing their own songs, which made my job a little easier. And and then later on, I joined a band in the Kootenays called the Tapperfucks, and they were just an amazing band, and I was playing guitar for those guys as well.
Yeah.
I thought, the first time I did the frontman thing, and it was all about the performance, and I loved that whole side of it, performance art. But I kind of wanted to take a bit of more of a back seat the next time I was in a band, so I thought being a guitar player would be kind of a fun thing to do. So I learned how to do that and joined those guys, and that was a really cool experience too.
Cool. That's great. And then, so nowadays, what's coming up on your radar for your art? What's next?
Next, I'm going to be doing a lot more skate art. I'm thinking I'm going to be doing some kind of cartooning again.
Oh,
'Cause
cool.
I did a lot of that. I did some cartooning for the newspapers in the Kootenays there for a while. I was doing a weekly editorial newspaper
Oh,
cartoon.
very cool. Wow.
But I'm kind of leaning towards more like underground comic style
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I kind of want to use the skate art medium for that. It would be neat to distribute kind of the comics that I want to distribute more around the skate shops and skate magazines and things like that. Kind of that more rebellious culture I'm drawn to.
Right,
I
right.
feel like that's a nice medium to do that in, you know.
Interesting. And what I was going to say to you too. So talk about when we talk about say art, for instance. What is some of the people that you look up to? Who do you look as inspiration as artists yourself?
It was a big spectrum of people throughout the years. Like when I was a kid, of course, it was all the comics I used to read, which were kind of these goofy like Beano comics, Dennis the Menace, the Beezer, stuff like that.
Right.
And those things just got burned into my brain. So when it came to drawing stuff, I had this sort of toolbox to pull from in my brain of what somebody should look like when they were surprised, or what they looked like if they slipped on a banana peel or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, it was more like I was more into Disney animation and that kind of artwork. I thought that was the best kind of stuff, so I started copying that. And then after that, it was more like the Marvel comics, Todd McFarlane and Mark Bagley and John Romita Jr. and Art Adams and those kinds of artists, and Jim Lee, of course, artists like that. And then in my teen years and punk years, I got more into like Robert Crumb and Gilbert Shelton, all the underground comic artists that were writing comics about doing drugs and partying and doing all the controversial things. I just loved the edginess of those comics.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, and when we're talking about inspiration too, when you're talking about punk music, what punk bands? I'm interested to hear what kind of punk bands kind of gave you you went, yeah, I like this kind of style of rock and roll. What rock music? What did you inspire to? What kind of artists?
Oh man, funny enough, I went to my first punk show as a teenager with my friend who was a Mormon. And you wouldn't expect a Mormon to want to go and see some punk rock, but his older brother was into it, and then he got into it. And the first punk show I went with Miranda Bachman, who was one of his friends, and she's the niece of Randy Bachman, of course.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of cool. And we saw SNFU, we saw Trigger Happy, we saw Gob, we saw like all these kind of skate punk kind of bands.
Yeah.
But it really blew my mind seeing SNFU and seeing their performance and seeing Chai Pig jumping around the stage and flying, hanging off the rafters and jumping into the crowd and all the props that he had. It was like truly performance art,
Yeah.
So that was really what got me wanting to be in a band,
yes.
And then that led to listening to Bad Religion, Dead Kennedys, and Black Flag, and Fugazi, Minor Threat, all the rest of it.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because that was when punk was actually really growing at that point, like really flourishing, right? That's interesting. Yeah, so you would have that connection with all that, and so from that, when we're talking about songwriting. Did your songs come from like that style of SFU? Did it come from, Dead Kennedys? Where did it come? Was it stylistic like that too? Without pigeonholing.
We covered Dead Kennedys. We covered some SNFU. We wrote our own songs which were similar to that, but we felt like message-wise, it was kind of like, okay, punk is becoming commercial. We need to bring the 70s back into punk rock.
Yeah.
What I mean? And bring the message of, question authority and all the rest of it. We wanted to bring that back into punk rock because we didn't like the direction that it was kind of going with like Green Day and all the new punk and the Offspring and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
we thought that was too commercial, and we thought that was the opposite of what punk was supposed to be.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we thought, okay, yeah, we need to be one of the real punk bands, and so that was our stance. And people vibed from that. They were like, yeah, these guys are legit, like when they saw us and when they heard our message. And, we do a little spoken word in between songs and things like that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, so it's like you're getting back to the real raw message that was supposed to be coming across, and it wasn't, because when it got to Green Day and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you're right. It became more commercialized. It became more about making money, right, than it did anything else back at that point, right? They just took
Oh,
something.
totally.
Yeah, I mean, they took something from the street and they just totally made it commercial, right? I mean, that's pretty much what they did to grunge music too. All that wasn't even really called. It shouldn't have been called grunge. It's just heavy rock, from bands in Seattle that were, either punkish or heavy rock, metal or whatever, right? And I don't know why they call it garage. They called it grunge because, I didn't think it was grunge. I didn't think Nirvana was a grunge band. They were more punk than anything, right? And all that stuff. But yeah, they like to label and change things, right, and make money from it. That's what everybody tries to do, you know. And then
Yeah,
it
it's
gets
usually the media, right?
yeah, it's the media. It's the media and how it twists things and turns things. Yeah, that's true. So in your art that you're doing and everything now, like you said, you know, are you still hanging on to that message? Are you questioning things, that are these days, or are you just more into the pure art form itself? How is that? What's your message that you're trying to get across?
It's funny because I always thought like I need to have a really important thing to say, a really important message, a really strong political stance, and things like that. Especially when I was into punk rock. But as I've sort of evolved out of that, I thought, well, I think just making art for the sake of making it is a better thing, and seeing what comes out of it rather than trying to be really important. I think it's more important to just keep creating art.
Yeah,
And that's where I'm at now.
I think
And
that's.
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think that's a great message, right? I think as we're getting older too, we tend to realize, that famous old saying, "Don't sweat the small stuff," right? You know what I mean? I don't think. I think when people, I think you and I were talking about this. I know one of the guitar players in my band was saying that we went to a couple of venues where, there was a lot of young people there, like really young people, and they were, right into the message thing, and my guitar player says it's kind of wokey for me,
Right.
and I sort of said to him, yeah, but I says you gotta cut these people some slack, and he goes, what do you mean? I says, well, they're young. We used to be like this too, right? And I said we used to think that we had to be everything that was going on was important enough that we had to comment on, right? And I says it's not. Yeah, as you get older, you realize that's not what it's all about, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of what it's about, though, because it's always gonna be there. But I kind of started noticing the message about the anti-authoritarianism became the authority, and
Yeah,
that's where I started questioning it again, because it was like this sounds like the things I used to say, but now they're sort of taking revenge on the authoritarians, and in doing so, becoming power drunk. And so I didn't like what was happening with that either. And now I'm in a place where I don't want to join any of these tribes. I don't want to join any of these kinds of
no,
ideologues, because I think it's a dangerous thing to be. And I'm more interested in kind of stuff that brings people together. But with that said, I'll make jokes about things. I think jokes are really important. That's why I like comics. I think joking about politics is such a necessary thing.
yeah,
And
I
I
agree.
think that's what punk was doing a bit.
Yeah, I think you got to have a sense of humor, right? I mean, like you got to be able to healthy. It's healthy for people to laugh and joke. Even I mean, I was funny you say that. I was reading this article and this book, this Zen book I've been reading. Right, it's actually kind of woke me up a bit, because when things go when something goes shitty, something goes wrong. How you start, fuck, I'm having a bad day, or this is going wrong, fuck, And then I read this article in the book. I don't know if I think you can relate to this. I know you can. What I said was, what it said was, there's a reason why it's going shitty, and probably there's a lesson in there for you, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, and it's almost like taking a negative and turning it into a positive sort of thing. But that's the simple way of saying it. But this was more like when I read this part, I went, oh, okay. So when something the other day I stubbed my toe, yeah, it hurt. But then I laughed afterwards, right? Like how I walked around the corner and I stubbed my toe. That was stupid of me. I should have walked around that corner, been more aware of where I was going, right? But I was thinking about something else. So, I'm laughing afterwards and going like, well, if I would have kept my mind on what I was doing, that wouldn't have happened, sort of thing. And I laughed, right? And thought that was funny. And so at the end of the day, I think, yeah, you're right. It's better to be more into doing, like you're saying, into the more pure thing. That's the message. The art is the message, right? At the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, it truly is, and to be able to laugh at ourselves and all the rest of it. I think again, back to SNFU, they were one of the greatest for that. Mr. Chayefik had some of the funniest lyrics, and he wasn't trying to be all serious like Bad Religion was or something,
Yeah.
He wasn't getting specifically political. He'd write songs about having a bad day, and he got a speeding ticket. He stepped in human shit. He had a bad day, right? He drank a can of salsa, went into convulsions. He had a bad day, or what was the other one? He busted his nose at the local punk show. He bought a new amp and got kicked out of his band. He had a bad day, and it's a song about having a bad day, like what you're talking about, and being able to turn it into something positive, or I don't know. Favorite is a song called Rusty Rake, and he says something like, birds eat worms and pigs eat turd. If ever I have a discouraging word, slash my face up with a rusty rake. It'll be something that I deserve, because it's not like I live on the streets. It's not like I live in a war zone. It's not like I can't afford to eat. It's not like I don't have a home. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very smart, and it sort of makes you, like you said, you poke fun at yourself, and you're poking fun at life, and it's not so bad, right? I don't know if I told you a story once when I was working in the hospital. I was taking this patient who was, terminally ill. He's going to die, right? And he was in the palliative care, and he was cracking jokes all the way to the test, and
wow.
And he said to me, all I got left is my sense of humor, and he says, and I'm going to use that to my last dying breath. And I just looked at him and I went, wow. I just, like, that was real, Jamie.
I love that.
That you can't get any more real than that, right? And I was just like, holy shit. All I said to the guy when I brought him back to the ward, I says, I really admire you. I says, I'm not just speaking words out of my mouth. I says, I'm just totally, like, you just taught me a huge lesson. And I went back and told my supervisor. My supervisor just went, wow. I says, yeah. I says, this person's just amazing. I says, this person's cracking jokes all the way to a test, and he's not doing really well, and he's sick, and he's dying, and he's still making fun of things, right?
Still enjoying life.
Yeah, right, to the last
enjoying
breath.
The rest of his life.
Yeah, it's amazing, and like you said, I think that's what we get out of the art. Like you said, like the art is the message, and that's important. Like I see that in your drawings when I was over at your place. I can see the amount of work that you put into your paintings, and it's amazing, right? I was telling that to my friend Kent. I says, well, I was over. I says, Jamie's got some amazing paintings. He's just really good. And Ken goes, yeah, I've seen some stuff online and stuff. He said, he's really good. He's really good at it, and it comes across, Jamie. It just comes across in your art. Like it's really concentrating. How long does it take you to do a painting like that? Some of your paintings. How long does that take? What's the process like?
It really depends on what I'm doing. Like I do the traditional Japanese stuff, which I do on Japanese handmade washi paper with all the pigments and the brushes and everything are all Japanese. So that stuff, you got to sort of work quickly because it's watercolor and it absorbs. So, you got to work quickly, but then you let it dry and you got to do another layer and you let it dry. So those ones take a little while. It might take me a few hours per painting. It's like maybe a normal size sheet of paper or whatever. Yeah. Some of the bigger ones obviously take more time. But then I do my, acrylic paintings. I do a little more surrealistic. And,
that stuff looks really cool. That's why that stuff I look too, and I go like that must take a lot of concentration, a lot of focus, because it looks.
Well,
really
kind of the opposite, because the other stuff is rooted in tradition and there's rules, whereas I like this other. I like the surrealist stuff because you got to sort of shut your brain off a little bit and throw more things out the window and try to break the rules. And I kind of, sometimes I'll sit there doing that stuff for a little too long though, and I'll overwork it. But I definitely spend more time on the surrealist style stuff.
Yeah.
It
probably takes you to a really cool place, because I noticed that when I seen you even doing the tats on me that you've done, like the dragon one, like the ink, all the detail in it, it just amazes me how not only that you do such a great detail, but you're fast too. Like, you're really fast, but you're lasered in there though, man. You're lasered right in there. You can see it.
It's like, when you see a guitar player and they're able to not look at their fingers and they're able to just know how to do the set, song after song. And you can't just do that because you're good at guitar. You've got to sort of rehearse it, right? And so, of course, I rehearse it every day. I practice every day, and I practice every day so I can get that autopilot mode,
Yeah. Makes total sense.
And that's where I'm happiest. That's where I'm zoned out. That's where I'm in meditation state,
Yeah. I was just gonna say that takes you to your Zen place, right? I mean, then you're in the right place, right? Yeah. I know.
The flow state.
Yeah. I mean, I just finished recording the other day a song with the blues rock band, and I nailed it in one take. Not that I was trying to do it like that, but I just knew I was in the zone, right? I didn't even think about what I was doing. I was just very comfortable in the position, what I was about to do, and I just did it, right? I didn't think anything of it afterwards, right? It just sort of came naturally, right? So I think that I see that in your art. I see that in your art and what you do. So that's great. And that's like you're saying, like we're getting full circle here, but that's you're right. A good message that you're saying here. It's the art that's important. That's the message in the end of the day, right?
It is, but I mean, there's still that part of me that wants to go back to the punk rock messages too, and that's where I feel like my comics are coming in, and sometimes a bit of songwriting.
Yeah.
So each medium has a different purpose. I'm kind of finding with art, and I just love all of them. I don't ever want to just be a one trick pony. I love doing all of it.
Yes. Yeah. I hear you. And that way you strike your own balance too, right?
Yeah, I feel like art is not just being able to draw a picture of something that you see and it looks just like that thing. To me, that's kind of copying. I'm more impressed with what a person can pull out of their head, what they can do with their imagination, and I feel like art is all of the mediums. It's poetry, it's writing, it's theater, it's it's music, it's painting, it's all of that stuff is the same thing, but with a different filter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Storytelling, right?
Yeah, it's storytelling. Yes, very much so. Yeah, that's great. Well, it's been fun talking to you, Jamie. I mean, whenever we get together and just chat or whatever we're doing, like when we're doing when you're tatting me up there, it's we have great conversations. That's for sure. I enjoy talking to you.
Well, it's fun talking to another artist because you get me.
I do get you.
And,
I do get you, and I appreciate, and I think you get me too, right? When we talk to each other, or and we meet up. It's just sort of like, you know, you go, oh, there's my friend Jamie, right? You know, it's easy to hang out because, you know, we share a lot of the same thoughts and feelings. So that's great. I appreciate that.
Exactly.
I appreciate that, Jamie, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good, Joe. I appreciate the interview here. It's really fun talking to you always.
Yeah, and I'll be calling you another month or so there.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
Take care, Jamie.
Yeah, take care, Joe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was Jamie Macpherson, and great tattooist, great artist all the way around, musician. Yeah, he's got it going on full bore. You need a great tattoo, go to Jamie. Trust me, a great art, great painting. He's got things going on. Even a skateboard. He could do it. So this is Izzy, Dakota Jones with the Art of Doing podcast for 2024. I think I got one more to go for this year. Wow, it's gone fast. We had some cool people. Check it all out. And we'll be talking to you soon. Peace out. All right. That was Jamie. I hope you enjoyed that. I had fun. I hope you had fun. And I think Jamie and I had fun. So until next time, peace out. Izzy Dakota Jones, Art of Doing Podcast 2024.